What is the issue with her arm? It appears that she wrestled a lawnmower. The remark wasn't subtle. It was made by a young man in uniform, just too young to shave. His words reverberated throughout the room as he and his friend sat in the corner booth of a small-town cafe, both wearing similar fatigues. This was followed by the kind of chuckle that makes your skin crawl. The second guy snickered, nudging his friend and muttering something about burn victims. She didn't answer, didn't even look, and simply walked away with the same quiet grace. The waitress, a woman in her late 20s with sharp eyes and sleeves rolled up, didn't flinch as she poured their coffee. The scars on her arms were jagged and discolored, but they faded over time, but they were impossible to ignore. They wrapped around her forearms like reminders of something no one else could comprehend. An older man in the corner booth put down his fork, his head held high back straight as steel, his silver hair clipped close, his posture still keen. His uniform was ancient and creased. The medals were earned rather than dazzling. A retired Marine had been observing the boys' laughter and the waitress's arms since they first entered. Then he noticed that, just beneath the deepest scar, which was partially obscured and faded beneath the burn tissue, there was ink for a tattoo, but not just any tattoo, a unit insignia for his unit, the 3rd Battalion 5th Marines. His blood ran cold. That symbol wasn't given lightly. He got up, the diner fell silent, and instead of approaching the boys, he went to the counter. The waitress looked up, exhausted but calm, and he nodded at her forearm. "You served," he said in a steady, low voice. Her eyes widened for a moment before softening. 2021. He nodded again, this time slower. "Sang?" he asked. She gave the smallest nod. Her sleeve rose slightly, just enough to reveal a date inked in beneath. The symbol October 18th, the day the gates exploded, the day 12 Marines died, the day she almost. The boys had stopped laughing. One of them scoffed, trying to regain some swagger. No way she was in Afghanistan. Look at her. But now the veteran turned slowly, calmly, and the silence that followed was thicker than smoke. He pointed at her arm. "Those scars," he said, "aren't from some accident. They're from dragging 2 wounded Marines out of a burning vehicle after the second blast hit. She didn't wait for orders. She didn't freeze. She moved, and because of her, those 2 men are alive today." The younger men looked down, eyes suddenly heavy. The vet continued, voice unwavering. "She was 22, and she didn't do it for medals. She doesn't wear sleeves to hide shame. She wears them because remembering hurts more than the fire ever did." The boys mumbled, but he cut them off. "You laughed because you saw damage. I saw survival. You saw scars. I saw service." The waitress remained silent, her eyes fixed forward. And then, almost softly, she said, "I've been called a lot of things, ugly, broken, liar, but the truth is I'm still standing. And if that bothers you more than the fact I served beside people braver than you'll ever be, that's not my problem. The difference between you and her is not rank, but respect." Then, as if nothing had occurred, she took up the coffee pot and carried on with her shift. However, someone in the cafe had recorded it, and within hours it was posted online, where millions of people had seen the video, which was headed, "They laughed at her scars until a Marine stood up," and comments were pouring in. Veterans from all branches submitted their personal burn scars and tales of loved ones who were never given the warm homecoming they deserved. One mother said, "My son was one of the 2 she saved. We never knew her name, but now we do." The diner changed after that, and the waitress, Emily Reeves, was no longer anonymous. Her photo appeared next to the register, showing a younger version of her in full combat gear, arms bandaged, eyes fierce, and no one ever made fun of her again. New recruits arrived quieter, more respectful, and whenever they reached for their coffee, they did so with a little more humility. Emily never gave interviews because her silence spoke louder than anything. They could write that the tattoo on her arm wasn't ink, but rather memory, pain, and loyalty. The scars weren't there to remind the world what happened to her. Some heroes wear aprons and serve coffee long after the battlefield. Before we wrap up this story, please let us know where you are watching from and whether it touched you. Because often the strongest people in a room aren't the loudest. Rather, they're the ones who have already endured hardship and persevered. Hit the like button and leave a karma comment below.